This is the Nerf ZombieStrike Crossfire Bow, not to be confused with the Crossfire dart tag pistol, although it's pretty hard to confuse this with a pistol, being that it's a crossbow. It primes like a crossbow. You got a point back here, boom, click. You got these guys, they're useless, so is this bow arm there. It really just makes it look like a crossbow. The only thing that's really crossbow about this is how it primes and how it looks, because you'll notice it's missing a crucial element of a crossbow. It's shooting darts. It's not shooting any arrows, but that's all right. It's got a tactical rail up top, and it's got a point to mount a buttstock, which I like about this quite a bit. Remove that there. Anyway, it's also got a ghost sight up top, and it's pretty powerful. Now, I haven't range tested this yet, although my indoor tests do seem to have it packing quite a punch. Pretty much, from what I can tell, it's the standard elite ranges of 75 feet, but I'll let Random Shadow 9 do the range testing, because he's way better at that than I am. Anyway, I'll show you how this thing fires, and I'm going to use my trusty Centurion over there. Yay! It's good for something. So I'm going to fire one at it. It's already primed. It's pretty darn hard. Now you're hearing a lot of, it sounds really tough, but it's really just this thing wiggling around because I don't have it really on there very well. The next couple shots, I'm going to show you how this sequential firing is working. You'll notice there is one missing from the top. I'm going to prime it again and fire. Alright, it did the next one down. Now, you'd expect it to shoot this guy next, but, aha, this is a lot like the rough cut and the triad in that wherever there's a dart, whichever one's closest to the top, it's going to fire next. So you can put these guys anywhere, and it's going to fire the one that is closest to the top, even if it's the last one. So this uses that same dart sensor technology that you see in the rough cut and that you see in the triad. Now that being said, that makes mods for air restrictors a little tricky, since it is utilizing air restrictors for its whole firing system. So if you're into modding, that might be a little tricky. You may want to look and see what folks have done to rough cuts and triads to get around that, if there is a way. The spring on this, excuse me, is pretty strong anyway, so a stronger spring would be fantastic, but it's still, even dry fire, it's not really, you know, a lot of times you'd see this slowly going in at the very end, but there's not a lot of that on this blaster. Just in general, it's a solid gun. I would say it's a little smaller than I thought it was going to be, but adding a buttstock certainly helps. I like buttstocks because I like rifles and the stability that you get when you're firing with them. But the interesting thing about this really is that this is half the blaster that the rough cut really is. You'd have 8 instead of 4, and you'd be shooting 2 darts at once instead of just 1. So it leads you to wonder, why not just go with the rough cut? Well, 1, coolness, but although the rough cut's pretty cool in its own right. 2, stock. So I'd say the rough cut is a little better just for shooting from the hip because of that angled handle. You'll notice that this one is more like a true pistol grip, whereas the rough cut is much more angled, more about here. Yar, you feel like a pirate when you fire it. Anyway, the ZombieStrike, I just forgot the name, the Crossfire Bow. They really need to start making more different names because they're starting to get a little mixed up now. Anyway, this thing's available now. These started off, the ZombieStrike lineup started off as an exclusive for Target, but now you can get this and the Side Strike and the Fuse Fire and other blasters at other retailers in the US. I don't know as far as international availability goes because I'm not from international land. Anyway, that is the ZombieStrike. Didn't call it N-Strike. Good. That is the ZombieStrike Crossfire Bow.